people, welcome back to you and I. How you doing? You and I talk show. Your favorite host, Ausares, Louise, Uwacu in the building. My people, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So today, what are we talking about? We have a couple of things to talk about. First is the Ugandan person who was nominated, the Uganda situation. A person that we know as a Rwandan person, a Rwandan man, has been made minister in Uganda, and people are talking about it. So we're going to talk about it. So what do we know about this guy? His name is Lawrence Muganga. What do we know about this guy? I'm going to tell you what we know about this guy. And as you can see from that poster already, he came to Canada as a Rwandan to Canada. It was in the newspapers, as you can see. So the main question is that I was asking people. This is the main question that we're going to ask. Do unto others as you would like to be done to you. Huh? So the main question that I was asking is my people. Do you know any real Ugandan who ever came to Canada? Because that's where we are. That's why we're even talking about it. As a refugee or a student from Uganda, a Ugandan come to Canada as a refugee or a student from Uganda. And when their studies are done, they go back not to Uganda. They're from Uganda, but they don't go back to Uganda. They go to Rwanda to become somebody important and to occupy high offices in Rwanda. Do you know that situation that ever happened? No, you don't. It has never happened. But you can come to Canada as a Rwandan. Rwanda was actually celebrating this guy. This is New Times. This is Rwandan newspapers, yo. Celebrating, talking about Rwandan wins Canadian Innovation Award. A Rwandan national currently living and working in Canada, Lawrence Muganga, was recently recognized by Alberta, a provincial government in Canada, for initiating and successfully managing a crime prevention project for the province. This was in Rwandan newspapers. So you can come to Canada as a Rwandan from Rwanda, and when you are finished your studies in Canada, you can go back not to Rwanda, but to Uganda and occupy some of the highest offices in Uganda. Only Rwandans can do this in other African countries. Why? How come? Like the guy who came here, the Manzi guy, to Canada, even got Canadian citizenship as a Rwandan. And then he went to Congo to become Congolese governor in the region that the Kagamistan in Rwanda is occupying. So, what we're going to talk about is why. Why? Why this guy has been nominated as a minister and not just any ministry. So we're going to talk about why. What is hiding behind that? And beyond that, we're also going to talk about Kenya and Ebola. And then we're going to talk about in French, the Congolese people, Congolese president was actually stopped going to Europe because of this whole Ebola madness crisis. I don't know if we can believe in this crisis. There's a Congolese lady on the internet saying that the Ebola is on social media and in the main media where people want to do the fear campaign and bring back dictatorship for the whole world again, like they tried during the last feardemic. I call it the trust the science crisis. But Congolese president was stopped for this madness when he was traveling. President. And then some Congolese people also stopped some Rwandan, you know, these Rwandan who are hiding, disguising themselves, claiming to be Congolese, and then going to protest against Congo. Congolese people found them as well. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to end in KinyaRwanda. And then we're going to see what is happening in the Rwandan community. And we're also going to talk about that. So thank you very much for being here. Like, share, subscribe. And thank you everybody who supports You and I Talk Show. Welcome back to the live edition. We're going to broadcast each video on its own depending on the language after the live airs. And we're recording the live on Saturday, May 30th. 2026. All right, my people, welcome back. So, my people, let me share the screen so we can already start on our very first story. So, remember when back in the days they used to tell us that, you know, Kagame and his movement, they lived in Uganda. They came to Rwanda. They took over power from they took over power in Rwanda. They used to live in Uganda. And, you know, they used to tell us that Museveni had helped these people come into power in Rwanda so that because Ugandans were starting to complain that, oh, how all these Rwandans in our politics, like what the hell is going on? And Museveni thought that it would eventually be a problem in Uganda, all these Rwandans taking up positions in Uganda, in the Ugandan society, high positions. So like, and then Museveni gave himself the idea that he was going to help these Rwandans, Banyarwanda in Uganda, take over Rwanda so that they can stop taking over in Uganda. But it appears as if, yes, Rwandans were helped to take over Rwanda, but they didn't give up Uganda either. You know, so they kept Uganda and added on Rwanda, and then they went into Congo as well. You know, let's not forget that the Kagamistan in Rwanda, I call it the Kagamistan in Rwanda, with Museveni in Uganda, they went to Congo together to kill, to rape, to plunder the Congo. All right? And then in this post that I was making, I was like, okay, so no, you can come to Canada as a Rwandan from Rwanda, and then when you finish your studies in Canada, you can go back to Uganda and occupy some of the highest offices in Uganda. Only Rwandans can do that. Which other African countries can do that? Huh? And then remember when even Kagame, he went to the USA to study in the USA, the military school. He went there as a Ugandan. And then he came back to Africa to wage a huge war against Rwanda and take over and become its president after killing his predecessors by shooting down the plane that was carrying 2 African presidents, provoking a genocide. And then I also bring up this issue of, if we're even going to question this guy, you know, because me, I'm like, when did he become Ugandan? Because he came to study in Canada as a Rwandan. It was even celebrated in the newspapers, Rwanda newspapers, Kagamistan newspapers, that Rwanda did this and this and this in Canada, right? So like, what's going on? But then I ask a simple question. If we're going to question this guy, okay, he's occupying a very important ministry. I think it's Ministry of Interior, or he's going to be responsible for citizenship. Um, and let me tell you exactly. Let me tell you exactly which ministry that he's going to be having. Ministry of Internal Affairs, which is responsible for areas such as immigration, citizenship, national identification, registration, police affairs, prisons, internal security coordination. So this is why Ugandans are worried. It's not just any ministry. It's the Ministry of Internal Affairs, who will be responsible for immigration and citizenship, national identification, police affairs, prisons, internal security. So, but the other question that I was raising is, okay, we know he's Rwandan. He was celebrated by Rwanda for being a Rwandan who accomplished this and that in Canada. But if we are going to go further, question his citizenship, nationality in order to occupy such an important ministry, because the Ugandan law actually does not allow for people who are holding double citizenship to hold such high positions. It's a legality issue. And I think he has triple citizenship, so Rwandan, Canadian, and Ugandan. So if Ugandans are worried about somebody in such a high position not being Ugandan, what about Museveni? Is Museveni Ugandan? So this was my question. How about you go all the way to the top? Is Museveni a Ugandan? According to us, Museveni is a Rwanda, just like us. And when Museveni, he was beefing, with the Kagamistan in Rwanda, what did they do? They revealed and exposed how Museveni was a Munyarwanda. Started telling the stories of his family, Butare, this and that. And then, of course, the picture of him and his father and his mother. So I'm like, I'm just asking simple questions. Why only question the Muganga origins? Yes, he's Rwanda. You're worried that Rwanda is going to occupy such an important ministry. But if you're going to question that, let's go further. Why only question Muganga when in Uganda, even the president is allegedly from Rwanda? Can somebody tell us who is Ugandan in Museveni family? His wife, his brother, his father, his mother, who? If Museveni is from Uganda, where is his Ugandan family? How come everybody in his family is from Rwanda? And you know how his son Muhozi be talking about he's a tribalist, he's a supremacist, Bachwezi this and that, Tutsi this and that. You know how he be posting. So this brings us to the why Museveni would appoint our fellow Munyarwanda to such an important ministry. Such an important ministry. So let me give you my why I think Museveni is doing this. Let me give you my why. This is my analysis. This is my opinion. This is my commentary. You can disagree, but let me give you my why he's doing this. Museveni is getting ready to leave office and leave his son to replace him. So his son, in order to leave his son to replace him, he's going to need people in the government apparatus that protect or that work or that are willing to serve his son and to recognize his son authority. But everybody knows Museveni's son, Muhozi, is a little bit cuckoo. He's a little bit on the cuckoo side. A lot of Ugandans are like, yo, man, this ain't no monarchy. You did not come up in here, destroy our monarchies. Tell us we can have Uganda kingdom, all the kingdoms in Uganda, only to establish a republic. And then you turn the republic into a monarchy where you think you're going to exit power and leave your son in power. Hells to the no. A lot of Ugandans be saying like that. So Museveni wants to insist and leave his son in power. So what does he need? He needs to place his pawns, his players on the board that will be able to support his son to continue the oppression on Uganda. And he will place on the board people who may not be genuine, real, original Ugandan, because them not being real, genuine, original Ugandan, they will be more willing to serve the dictatorship that has given them those opportunities and to help the oppression to continue in Uganda. Are we clear? Are we together? This is in preparation for Museveni's son. And so, this important Ministry of Internal Affairs, Immigration and Citizenship, National Identification and Registration, Internal Security Coordination, they may be able, holding this ministry, to even give, you know how they be giving citizenship to all these Banyarwanda who support them. They will even bring people, not even these Banyarwanda from Uganda. They will even go to our original Rwanda in the Kagamistan in Rwanda and bring Rwandans and register them as Ugandans so that they can vote for Museveni or Museveni's son. So Museveni stays in power. And so if he puts in charge one of his own, this immigration system and national identification and registration system, then they can register, identify anybody, and those are the people who will support them. Those are the people that they will raise up and promote. So why this guy in this ministry? I'm not saying this guy is not qualified. He's a very intelligent guy. He's qualified. He's a good guy. Actually, I have a personal story about this guy. So let me tell you a personal story about this guy. So now you understand how they're placing, things on the chessboard. Now, the personal story about this guy that I have is not about me or him, because I don't directly personally know him. But this is a story that was told by David HIMBARA. Remember David HIMBARA? David HIMBARA told a story. Let's go visit David HIMBARA, actually. So this is David HIMBARA's page. You guys remember David HIMBARA? So David HIMBARA has told a story about this guy, this Lawrence Muganga guy, because other people, like Fatiga Kwerere, okay, before I even get to Fatiga Kwerere, before I even get to David HIMBARA, let me first tell you the Fatiga Kwerere story. Fatiga Kwerere, for him, RPF Fatiga Kwerere, he's saying that this guy is a Kagamistan agent. To him, he used to be in the military he used to be in the military for the Kagamistan, and to him, this guy is an agent. So Fatiga Kwerere is saying General David Muhoozi was dropped for Kagame's notorious agent, Lawrence Muganga. So to him, he's a notorious agent of the Kagamistan. The Kagamistan, which claims to be criminal Kagame, is a master of state infiltration. As he noted in 2018, I'm good at human intelligence, if not the best in this field. In 2015 CV, Lawrence Muganga stated, 2003 to 2005, I worked as an internal auditor for the Rwandan Inland Revenue. This Muganga guy was working for Rwanda, the Kagamistan in Rwanda. During this period, no one could serve as an employee of the Rwanda Inland Revenue without belonging to Kagame's Special Intelligence Branch. At the time, Rwanda's Special Intelligence Branch was under the command of criminal Paul Kagame's ruthless protege, Brigadier General Gacinya Rugumya. This was a text by RPF Gakwerere, a military corporal for more than 3 decades. So, to Robert Fatiga Kwerere, this guy is an agent of the Kagamistan in Rwanda, and the other guy was dropped so that he could come in. And then he goes even into further to show how he was part of the system of the Kagamistan in Rwanda. And then he goes on to talk about how the position of a Minister of State for Internal Affairs is highly sensitive because it is linked to national security, immigration, citizenship, passport, national identification, border control, and access to confidential government data. Such a role requires unquestionable loyalty, integrity, discretion, and full trust in the person appointed. Criminal Paul Kagame is a magician and a master of state infiltration. So, Fatiga Kwerere, to him, this is an intelligence operative. And he is warning Ugandans for national security breach. Rwanda's intelligence operative, Lawrence Muganga, appointed Uganda's Minister of State for Internal Affairs. Criminal Paul Kagame's notorious boy, Lawrence Muganga, a Rwandan National Intelligence and Security Services operative in external intelligence and a person who has held Rwandan IDs, has just been appointed as Uganda's Minister of State Internal Affairs. The strong Rwandan connections raise serious questions about his past documentations and identity, including his Canadian citizenship. Under Uganda's constitution, dual citizens are not allowed to serve as ministers. Uganda's vetting structure have failed the country at the highest level. They have not failed. They are doing it on purpose. That's the comment that I could say. So, Rwanda's notorious external intelligence operative Lawrence Muganga has replaced a Ugandan patriot, a man who deeply loves his country, Uganda, General David Muhoozi, as Minister of State for Internal Affairs. This is a critical ministry that handles vast amounts of sensitive data on Uganda and internal intelligence files. Criminal Paul Kagame is celebrating. We all know how skilled he is at infiltration and human intelligence operations. Replacing a Ugandan patriot with a clean record with a foreign agent is shameful. The vetting team close to President Museveni has let the nation down. They are sellouts. They are not. They are part of the plot. They are part of the plot. They are all in on the plot to place these people so that he can bring in loyal people who are going to support them stealing the Republic of Uganda and turning it into a monarchy, a Museveni kingdom where he will leave his son into power. They know what they are doing. And then he concludes, this appointment once again illustrates the enormous influence of Andrew Mwenda. Acting on tips from Kagame's intelligence network, Mwenda influenced Sudhir to appoint Lawrence Muganga as Vice Chancellor of Victoria University, a university critics have described as linked to money laundering. The same Mwenda is also said to have lobbied for Muganga's appointment as state minister in this highly sensitive ministry. So, I'm telling you this connection to Rwanda's intelligence because then I want to tell you about about the story that I know that David HIMBARA has testified that links this man to Rwandan intelligence. And here in Canada, when they tried to assassinate David HIMBARA, Rwanda, the Kagamistan intelligence tried to go after David HIMBARA here in Canada. And guess who saved him and who tipped him off? I'll give you a second just to guess. Let's share. This is David HIMBARA's story. You know David, fiance David, Uncle David. You know him, you know him, you know him. So, let me find the story that David was posting about this man. About this man, because he posted about this man, about his experience. He talks about how David HIMBARA was targeted by Rwandan external services, the spies. They tried to assassinate him here in Canada. And then, as they were plotting to assassinate him, because he knew this man, and this man, Lawrence Muganga, actually admired him. Be patient with me. I'm going to get to the story on my Twitter page, because I'll be posting a lot of things. So because this Muganga admired David HIMBARA, when he came to Canada, he asked David HIMBARA to mentor him. So David HIMBARA became like a father figure, uncle figure, mentor figure to this Lawrence Muganga guy. And then what happened? The security services of Rwanda tried to assassinate David HIMBARA, and then David HIMBARA was warned by Lawrence Muganga. Now, David HIMBARA himself, he's like, if Lawrence Muganga would have been part of the Kagamistan killing machine, intelligence services, I would have been completely dead. I would have been killed, you know. But I say at the same time, well, how could he? It's only because he was part of the security system, the Kagamistan security system, that he was able to know about the plot to kill David HIMBARA. And then when he found out about the plot to kill David HIMBARA, he was able to warn David HIMBARA. Because if you're not part of the security system, how will you even find out that they're trying to do this thing, an operation in Canada, and they are going after this person, and then you go out of your way to warn this person? So to me, just because he was able to warn David HIMBARA and save David HIMBARA from getting killed by the Kagamistan in Rwanda, does not mean that he's not part of the intelligence of Rwanda. It actually confirms that he may be part of it, because how else does he get the information of the intelligence and the victim that they are trying to go after? Yo, I can't find where I had posted it on Twitter. You know, I had posted it on Twitter, reposting what HIMBARA had written. So let me Google it once again and then show it to you. Okay, so this is the page that I am sharing. David HIMBARA wrote this in 2021. And here, this is a picture of David HIMBARA and Muganga. The Muganga guy and his family, when they were living where? In Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Right? So let me read to you the story that I'm gonna, that I'm trying to share with you. And this story was written when actually Ugandan media was reporting that Lawrence Muganga was arrested in connection with spying for the Rwandan regime. So the idea that he may be spying for the Kagamistan in Rwanda is not even new. Because to David HIMBARA, it was a blunder because Lawrence Muganga, if he was on Kagame's payroll, to David HIMBARA, he said that he would be most likely dead because Lawrence Muganga saved David HIMBARA from Rwandan regime thugs in Canada on a mission to silence David HIMBARA. So, bear with me. It's a 2-minute read, as he said. All right? So he says, my relationship with Lawrence Muganga began in the early 2000s when I worked for the government of Rwanda. Then a young man, Lawrence Muganga, approached me and demanded that I mentor him. Not only did I agree to do so, I was soon his chairman. Muganga worked for the World Bank-funded Human and Institutional Development Agency, HIDA, and I was its chairman. But after I realized that General Paul Kagame and his regime were returned to the call, I fled to South Africa in January 2010, later returning to Canada when Patrick Karegeya was murdered by Rwandan agents in Johannesburg on January 1st, 2014. After resettling in Canada from that year onwards, who calls me? Lawrence Muganga. It turns out that Lawrence Muganga had moved to Canada and was pursuing his PhD studies. We reconnected as buddies and I began helping him with doctoral dissertation. Fast forward to 2019. I received a call from Lawrence Muganga who gave me shocking news. He told me the Rwandan defense attaché to Canada and the USA, Vincent Nyakarundi, had assembled a team, including him, with a mission of shutting me down for my relentless criticism of the Kagame regime. Now listen carefully, my people. Lawrence Muganga told David HIMBARA that the defense attaché to Canada and the USA, Nyakarundi, had assembled a team that included him. So Lawrence Muganga was included in the team that was to shut down David HIMBARA in Canada. David HIMBARA wrote about it. He testified. Lawrence Muganga told David HIMBARA himself. So the things that Fatiga Kwerere was talking about, Lawrence Muganga being part of the Kagamistan spies, network, intelligence, and all those things, here from David HIMBARA, we have the confirmation. He receives a call from Lawrence Muganga, who tells him the Rwandan defense attaché to Canada has assembled a team that includes Lawrence Muganga with a mission of shutting down David HIMBARA for his criticism of the Kagamistan regime. And then Lawrence Muganga advised David HIMBARA that I had better build a stronger defense system because the Kigali regime was determined to silence me by any means necessary. This is David HIMBARA writing. I asked Lawrence Muganga one question. If he was serious about preventing harm coming my way from Kagame's thugs, was he willing to report the threat to my life to police authorities in Canada? Lawrence Muganga went straight to the police authorities and reported the threat to my life. Similarly, I reported the matter to police authorities. Thankfully, both USA and Canada refused to renew Nyakarundi's diplomatic passport, he was recalled to Rwanda. By siding with me and reporting the Rwandan government criminality to Canadian authorities, Lawrence Muganga most likely saved my life. I will forever be thankful for what he did. Fast forward September 2021, the Ugandan media reported that Lawrence Muganga was arrested by security forces in connection with espionage for the Rwandan regime. Eyewitness reports indicated that heavily armed gunmen raided the university where Lawrence Muganga works, grabbed him, threw him into detention. This is most likely a Coraso Blanda. Were Lawrence Muganga on Kagame's payroll, I would most likely be a dead man. Stay tuned. So, this is where I say that, to me, yes, Lawrence Muganga was working for the Kagamistan. And just because somebody is working for the Kagamistan and they warn you that you're going to die because you have been a good friend to them, you have been their mentor, doesn't mean so they have you have been a mentor and the regime wants to kill you and the person is like, oh, you're not gonna kill my mentor, I'm gonna warn him. If they warn you, they have the heart to warn you, that does not automatically mean that they are not part of the spy network and the system, because they themselves have told you that they are part of the network, part of the system. You know, because he says that he got a call from Lawrence Muganga himself that the defense attaché had assembled a team that included Lawrence Muganga with a mission to shut down David HIMBARA. So he just revealed to you that he's part of the system and he's part of a team to kill you. Later on, he gets arrested in Uganda, accused for spying for Rwanda, and you say, no, he's not a spy for Rwanda, otherwise I would be dead. No, he is. But because you were good to him, he decided to save your life. It doesn't mean that he's not part of the network. Actually, the fact that he was able to warn you is the confirmation that he's part of the network. He himself, he told you. So the fact that he's good to you doesn't clear him and make him innocent of being a spy for Rwanda. This has been happening in human history. You have the Nazis, the person that they are surveillancing, the person they're in charge of going after the person that they are surveillancing, they start liking the person that they are surveillancing. And then eventually they stop reporting the person that they're surveillancing. They save their life because they like the person that they're surveillancing. They discover that this person is innocent and the government is going after them for nonsense. So they refuse to help the government kill this person. But it doesn't mean that this person is not part of the government and the system because they decide to save your life. And as Rwandans, during the genocide, some people would be part of the militias who are trying to kill people, but they would still save some other people. So them saving some people from death because of personal relations does not mean that they are not part of this system. So this is what we know about this man, Lawrence Muganga, apart from what I was telling you. You know, that Robert Fatiga-Kwerere had publicized him, that he's an agent. And that's what we know about him. And so all this to come back to what I was trying to tell you, the why. So if he's an agent, the why is now being appointed is the preparation for Muhoozi to come in. And so for Muhoozi to come in, if Museveni puts into the system apparatus, the appareil de l'État, the system that is supposed to protect Muhoozi, if maybe he puts in real Ugandans, they may refuse. They may refuse to support Muhoozi when the time comes. They may become patriots because they're Ugandans. And they're like, no, Uganda is not a kingdom of this Banyarwanda and Museveni and his family. Uganda is for all Ugandans. And you know how Museveni has apologized to Uganda for abusing Ugandans, oppressing Ugandans. So this is a guy who was publicizing now his Republic of Rwanda passport for the Muganga guy, you know. So they're talking about how he has 3 passports. This passport of his, the Rwandan passport, and the Rwandan passport, and the let me show you. Ugandans have been putting everything out. Rwandan passport, Canadian passport, and Republic of Uganda national identity card. Triple Republic of Uganda diplomatic passport now. And then he registered as a dual citizen. When he registered as a dual citizen, certificate of registration as a dual citizen, he only registered in 2024, as this document claims, allegedly. And then, so he says Ugandan citizenship and the citizen of Canada. He forgot to declare his Rwandan citizenship as well. So the problem for Ugandans is about the legality of it. Dual citizens can offices, these are offices, 12 offices in Uganda of a state which a person holding dual citizenship is not qualified to hold. Number 1, president. Number 2, vice president. Number 3, prime minister. Number 4, cabinet minister and other ministers. Number 5, the inspector general. 6, technical head of the armed forces. 7, technical heads of the branches of armed forces. 8, commanding officers of armed forces. 9 officers responsible for heading departments, responsible for records, personal logistics. 10, inspector general of police. 11, heads and deputies, deputy heads of national security and intelligence organizations. 12, member of the National Citizenship and Immigration Board. So to Ugandans, it's a legality issue. But to end, I'm like, yo, Uganda been taken over anyways. If you're gonna question Lawrence, is not, doesn't qualify to be minister in Uganda because of his dual citizenship. What about Museveni? Yo, he's all the way to the president of Uganda. So you let me know. You let me know. But that's the story. That's the full story. That's my analysis and my opinions and the entire history of what we know about this guy and the why that he's being placed in that position. So you let me know your own analysis. What do you think? And you let me know if I'm right or if I'm wrong. You let me know what your own opinion may be. And that's it. We're going to talk about it. All right. So we're going to move into French. Before I move into French, let me read a few comments. Cro de Gatewuche. What? I salute you. I salute you. Cro de Gatewuche is one of the Rwandan activists. My people, go and check out his YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel, Gatewuche mu KinyaRwanda, and then in English, Cro de Gatewuche. And then, yeah, so he's a champion of people who are speaking out truth to power and exposing all the criminal things that the Kagamistan in Rwanda does. So, Claude Gatebuke, I salute you. So, Claude Gatebuke saying Kagame did the same thing. He came to the USA as a Ugandan, and then he went to lead the RPF in its invasion of Rwanda. Criminals without borders. Exactly. You see? So Kagame comes to study as Ugandan, and then he goes, he invades and becomes president in Uganda. Museveni helped Kagame take over Rwanda by assassinating 2 African presidents. And then they always use the excuse, oh, Rwandans were occupying a lot of positions, so we had to help them take over Rwanda so they can get out of the Uganda. But now they have held Uganda and took over Rwanda as well. And now Museveni is trying to hold on to Uganda and make sure that he puts people in position, people who are part of the Kagamistan system and the Museveni system, because let's not forget that the godfather of the Kagamistan in Rwanda is Museveni. The godfather of RUTO, the madness of RUTO in Kenya, is Museveni. Actually, let's not end the English section without talking about the madness that has been happening in Kenya. The president has completely sold out their country and asked for the USA to send the Ebola patients to Kenya. Madness, total madness. Kenyans are going crazy. They're like, how could you do this to us? This is like the worst. Nobody has ever done worse to their own country in Africa. How can a leader of the country who's supposed to protect the people, the nation, be the one to ask for the USA to send Ebola to Kenya? Total madness. So Rubio has exposed him, talking about how President Ruto himself reached out to the USA government, asked for 1.7 billion fee so that he could dump, so that they could dump Ebola victims to Kenya. US government did not come looking for Kenya. It is Mr. Ruto who offered to host Ebola patients. I mean, my people, does it get worse than that? But who is Ruto's godfather? Museveni in Uganda. Who is the Kagamistani in Rwanda? Godfather Museveni in Uganda. What are they all trying to do? Ruto importing in, it's all connected, my people. It's all connected. Ruto importing in Ebola so that he can manufacture a crisis, so that he can steal the elections, the upcoming elections in Kenya, where he knows the Kenyans are so mad. They have exposed him. They don't want him. He has been such the worst that Kenya has ever seen at the top of Kenya, to the point of selling them Ebola. So they want this crisis so that they can steal the elections. Same reasons that the godfather Museveni is installing these people so that they can steal Uganda from Ugandans. And the Kagamistan in Rwanda, he's already sold. You know how he goes to Congo. He's in Congo, killing, plundering. And the Ebola in Congo, they're saying, is another manufactured crisis, so that they may bring on the dictatorship that they have been trying to bring into our world, into the whole world, ever since the trust, the science crisis. Everything is connected. All right, my people. So thank you so much. I'm going to move into French because we could talk about this for another hour. Huh? But this was going off the Gateuja comment, you know? So, yeah, that's what's happening, my people. Thank you. Rene Sharonji, thank you, thank you, thank you. Rene Sharonji is like for the continuity of the empire. Yes, for the continuity of the criminal dictatorship of Museveni. You saw how he won the elections. Is that a real win? Is that a real win? And you saw how Kenyans been protesting against Ruto. My goodness. Bukuru Angelique. It's like, I like your analysis. Thank you, my people. All right, so let's move into French and then talk about what is happening in Congo. Thank you for your attention, my people. All right. Merci, merci la famille. On bouge, on passe en français. La famille, merci, 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 merci d'être là. Merci d'être avec nous.